Righty, hopefully you can sort of kind of see what I'm doing here. So I've screwed the steel rulers to the bench, so I can use it as a guide to map out where these things are, using the seam as my start point. I'm just going down the ruler backwards, but just because it happens to be, I don't know, just the way I did it. So basically what I've been doing, so I've gently rolled it around without trying to move it, and then come along and picked up the edges and worked out exactly where they are, so I can transfer that information onto the new tank. And I can also use this to get my placement from the screw holes and all those sorts of things. So I'm just going to go through and rough mark out where these pieces are, and then I'll go through and work out where the holes are, and I can get all the pieces and sit them over the top and mark them out like fairly accurately, and then I can work out what I'm going to do to cut these holes, whether I've got a hole saw big enough, which I might just have a quick look at. So I've got a little bit of stuff here floating around. Give it something close anyway, and then I can, that's too big. So it's not too bad a size, I can file it out from there, if need be, die grind or whatever. That one's huge, so that is about as close as I can get. I can probably just use the plasma cutter for that too, or I can just make it close and then again die grind it out. And same with the other one that's up here somewhere for the filler neck. Was that one the filler neck? No, that's the filler neck there, sorry. And then you got another one around here which is about the same size. So yeah, I can probably plasma that one out close, so close to the right size, and then. But yeah, I'm just trying to get it as much dated down here low for start off, and then I can flip around do the other end. It's only really going to be a couple of things that are going to be a little more tricky because my ruler's not quite, or my square's not really quite long enough. But I can find something else. I haven't got a big square, unfortunately. I'd like a big, I don't know, 2 foot, 3 foot one would be nice, but I don't have one at the moment. But we can work around that.
Out to the show, kick it into high gear, now we let go. And if you're feeling weary, I feel like you gotta scream, then let's go for a ride in a shiny machine. There's no time to be humble, smiling at the sound of an echoing rumble. Hit the open road.
Right, so this is what goes on here. So I've marked which way the orientation goes. So in theory that'll sit around there somewhere like that. Sorry, that's the top one, but yeah, same thing. Number one, it's down here. So I marked on all those 2 and 3, but I didn't mark number 1, obviously, because I didn't need to. But see, that's where one goes. The other one goes up the top, and because I marked on the back of here, the 2 lines up with the 2 on the fuel tank. show you that. So I wrote 2 on here, and that little 2 lines up with that, so I knew the orientation. Just in case, you know, we're coming along to put this back together and we go, shit, which way around were they? That's why I wrote it on there. So I know the orientation, and we can mark these holes out, drill the holes and put them on. But I need to talk to the guy that's going to do all the soldering to fill the gaps, obviously, to make this thing fuel proof, leak proof. Whether he wants me to put these on and solder them or put the rivets in, or whether he wants to do it all himself and I just give him all the parts, if you know what I mean. But I'll at least get everything all so it can be fitted. So in theory all the holes are in the right place. And I can, once I've actually got these mounts done and I haven't put the ends on, I can put some little screws in these, 2 or 3 screws in each one, and I can throw it back underneath the car and test it and to make sure it fits in the right place and everything is 100% right, if you know what I mean. And we can go from there. So I'll carry on. I'll come back to you when I've kind of getting ready to maybe put some holes in this thing, I guess. Right, so I've got that mapped out now. So I just found out what I knew where the edges were, marked where, I can't remember, I think it was the top or the bottom hole, one of the 2, and then just overlaid, drew around it, marked the holes, and then done the same with the filler neck. Lay it on there, mark the top, mark the pin, the holes, and then I pulled the actual filler out of it and marked the hole in there, so I know it's got to be inside that circle. I'll just turn this tank round. I'll start marking the other side, or the other end of it, and get that all sorted, and then we can work on this middle stuff. The drain, the drain and the other brackets. So that's where the fuel pickup and that is, and the other bracket. So we'll get them marked out, but we'll do the bottom stuff first and then we'll work this out. It's actually closer to this end too, so it's not bad. And we can roughly work that out. I've got another one of these steel rulers. I might better we'll better make it reasonable, or even get a level and get it right, and we'll better work it out. And then I'll set it on a somewhere. I'll get one of the panel stands around here. We'll sit on there and we'll set all the pieces on there and we'll have a good look. Righty, I know that frickin' ticking thing's a bit noisy. I just uncovered it because it was getting a bit hot. I just checked the temperature on it. But anyway, what I've got on here, I've got a bit of masking tape on here, which is on that seam, which I've been measuring from around to the pickup points in here, because I'm going to check the other end. So I'm going to lay this back on that same seam and just make sure that they are both in the same position. Because the last thing I want is, you know, to drill the holes and then something's not quite in the right position. So pull this off here. That'll be right, pull the stick with it. And I'll lay it on here. Hopefully you can see me. So I'll lay it on that seam, that black mark. Right around here. See, something's off here. So yeah, I haven't quite measured one of these ends right, obviously. So we're off a little bit. So what I might do is I might do the same thing on the other one and just make sure they are the same, and then I'll overlay the tape from that one onto this one and see which one is wrong or right or whatever. So
shining machine.
hopefully you can still see me. I'll lay this on here. So it's that one that's wrong. This lines up perfect. So I screwed something up on that first one. Somehow, somewhere. Not quite sure how. So I might do the same with that just to make sure that's right too. But at least I know, you know, I've only got to move that a little bit, and I'll double check the heights again. But yeah, I just wanted to, I laid it all out and I thought I'll just double check to make sure that they are in that ballpark. Yeah, and something I just haven't quite got something right there. I don't know what I did wrong, but rolling it around on that ruler is a reasonable thing. You know, I'm trying to get it as close as I can, but obviously I've moved something, screwed something up. I'm not quite sure. Maybe I've, I don't know, measured off the wrong edge or something. I don't know, but we'll fix it. Righty. So I've got first holes in the tank. Cut that. That hole saw is the perfect size. It's basically exactly the same size as what this is. So it works out perfectly if I just split that apart. Oh, sorry, it's awkward to do that one-handed. So yeah, so it fits perfect. It's dead spot on, you know. So that's cool. That's really awesome. I wonder if it's worth making a little frickin' thing to put underneath here to stop somebody siphoning fuel. But you know, you can get fuel in here and it obviously runs in, no problems at all, but have just like a little squirrel box or something underneath it, so it so people can't frickin' get like a, they can only get like a little bit out of your top of your tank, yeah, like a modern car. I don't know if it's worth doing that or not. It's worth a thought though. It wouldn't be hard to make something up so it's bloody awkward to get, you know, anything down past there, but the fuel can still run in nicely and easy. You know, they can always, I suppose if they're desperate, they could pull the drain plug. But so yeah, got that one sorted. Got these in the right place now. I haven't mapped out anything else, but which I'm going to do shortly. I'm not going to drill these holes yet, but yeah, I've got that one sorted. So now I'm going to map out these other holes. These bigger ones, work them out, and then you go from there. I'm just about out of day now though, but yeah, so we'll carry on and we'll try and get that stuff mapped out. Righty guys, so I've just marked out these. Now what I did is I laid a couple pieces of tape over there as straight as I could get them, roughly. Marked out a couple of points. I actually had another piece of tape on the side of this, which I picked up the two of the rivet holes. Did the same with this, marked out the 4 rivet holes, actually poked them through. Did the same on this piece. So poked them through, the heads on the side of that. And then I come along and measured from one side to the other and marked where the rough centre was, or just made a reference mark. So for this one I had 31 centimetres and I did it in 3 places. and then when I transferred, basically I marked on here, like on the seam line 31, and I marked it quite heavily so I could see it through the tape. Same here, which was about the rough spot where the end of the tape was. Same one here for 44 centimetres. Same one here, so I could line that up with the seam, bring it over there, lay it down. I could put the piece over top. I could mark the holes anyway, which the ones I need. Pulled that bit of tape off, laid the pieces over top, marked around them, and marked the holes. So I think that's probably the easiest way to do this. Now what I was doing over there works well too, but I've just been trying different ways to try and see what's easiest basically. And I think that's the fairly easy way. Just get it, because I know these are exactly the same distance. They've got them spot on for dimensions between this and that. And I'm always working off that same edge. That's why I marked it, top and bottom, so I don't get the wrong edge, if you know what I mean. Because this has only got one edge. And this, well, it's kind of got two, but the other one's on the inside, whereas that one there's been, the way they've done it is obviously a slightly better method. But yeah, I've been always working off this one edge, both directions, so that makes it easy to reference. And yeah, that works out pretty much spot on perfectly, and that should be in the right spot. Now, because I'm 3 spots where I've got the measurements, and then I come back along here, and because I'd marked where they were in here, I just double checked it to make sure that mark and that mark and that mark were all, you know, 44 centimetres and 30s. So that's basically 31's about 12 inches. No, it's a bit over 12 inches, or what are we talking? Maybe about 17? 44? Yeah, I don't know, somewhere around it. It doesn't matter anyway, but I'm working in centimetres. But yeah, so I'll now do the same thing for that, and I'll do the same thing, and I'll just mark the edge, run it around as straight as I can get it, do some marks on here, and then I can reference those up, lay it on there, and I can draw it. So draw around the piece, mark all the holes, and we're good to go basically. Righty guys, so I think I've got everything marked out. We'll work all the holes out tomorrow. So that's that one, and then the other one. So yeah, I used the same method for that. I actually used the same positioning from the top, so it worked out quite well. So it's pretty much in line. So I just put some good marks on the tank so I could read it through the tape and lined her up and transfer it over. I think that's probably the easiest way to do it, especially in something like this. So yeah, so I'll do a double check in the morning, just make sure I'm happy with everything, and yeah, we go from there. But I think these are identical as they can be. We'll double check to make sure that I'm pretty sure, because exactly same height, and I'm pretty sure they're exactly same diameter around. So yeah, I thought that was the easiest way to transfer the markings. Just work off that one seam backwards and forwards, a good measurement from there, and use a marker to pick up as many points as you can, lay it down, lay the piece over top of it, mark it out, and pretty much be done with it. So yeah, that other method was working too, but it was it was easy to lose your place, obviously, when I did those first ones. You know, for some reason I ended up miles off on that, and that's when I laid the tape on there and got that right. Even that one there was slightly out, but I only had to move it just a little bit. So that's the why I fixed that one and cut the hole for that and drilled the holes in it. So yeah, I just got to double check everything, and then I can cut these ones out tomorrow, and then yeah, I'll bead roll those. I haven't done them yet, and then I'll work out. I've got both these ready to go. So yeah, I've just got to fold the lip over on them. I'll just double check them and whatever, and just make sure I get the right depth, and when I fold all those, or crimp all those edge overs, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, we're just about there. Right, Russ, we'll catch you in the morning.
Let's go!
Righty, so, see me cut those couple holes. We've just started drilling the holes in here. These tick screws for this sort of shit are really handy. I'd like some Clecos, they would have been just as good. But that sort of shit, little tick screw there with the little drill head on it, perfect for, you know, put your first one in, jam one in, you know, put your next hole in, jam one in. At least then you know that's not going to move when you're drilling your pilot holes. So these here are riveted in with this sort of rivet, and they come up from the inside, and then obviously you're going to hold something on the inside, heat it up, and hammer it flat. But before I do this, because I've got a selection of different size ones, because yeah, like some of the stuff's held on with some quite decent sized rivets, but I don't really know which ones I'm going to use. I'm thinking these here are going to be the ones. So I think what I need to do apart from obviously drilling the rest of the holes in this thing, is make a couple of phone calls and just talk to the guy and see what he wants to do. So it's the same guy that done the repairs on the radiator that I'll be talking to. So yeah, I think I need to make that phone call just to find out what his process will be, because I'd hate to put all this stuff on, rivet it on, and he doesn't want it riveted on. You know, and then we've got to turn around and take all the rivets back out and pull the shit off and whatever. Like, I'd imagine that he probably does want it riveted on, but I'd like to find out first whether he does or he doesn't, if you know what I mean. Because it's got to be all these joints, and you put all these in here to hold this on, and then hammer it down, all need to be soldered up, as well as obviously the ends and then the baffles in it. So I can't put the ends on, I can't put the baffles in, because he's got to solder the baffles on, and then then you'd have to crimp the ends over and then solder them on, if you know what I mean. So yeah, I kind of need to talk to him to see what his process would be and what he's prepared to do. Like, he might just say, yeah, no, just bring it down to me, drill the holes in it and bring it down. You know, and bring the whatever rivets you've got. You know, I may have to enlarge some of these holes to accept some of these bigger rivets. I don't know, because we've got a selection here, but these aren't exactly the right thing. They're not exactly the right size, but with a bit of hammering and heat up and a hammer down, they will swell out. So they might have been that size for a start off. I don't know. I'm only guessing. This is what we've managed to get hold of. And fortunately enough, it was actually when we got some of this gear, like, we managed to get some steel rivets, like this sort of stuff, that are actually right for the job. So I need to make that phone call and just find out whether he wants me to hammer all this stuff in, or leave it up to him, if you know what I mean. Righty, I just tried to ring the guy, and I just realised it's actually a long weekend again this weekend, for a lot of people. So yeah, he must have buggered off Friday to take Monday off as well, since it's Anzac weekend here. If you don't know what Anzac weekend is, it's basically the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps remembering all the people that died in the First World War and Second World War, basically. And it coincides with when the soldiers landed on the beach in Gallipoli, over in Turkey, back in the First World War. So yeah, it coincides with all that. That's where that day comes from. So yeah, he must be away, so I can't get hold of him. So I think what I'll do is I'll just drill all the holes, get everything all sorted out, ready to go, and then if I need to rivet them on, I can rivet them on, and if he wants to leave them off, or I'll leave them off and he can do it, or whatever, you know what I mean? So yeah, we'll work from there. Righty, so obviously I've got all those brackets. I've got a couple of Tech screws in each one. The only thing I haven't got two in is this, but it's only the filler neck, it's not supporting anything. I've got what you can see down in there, the piece where the fuel pickup goes in, and obviously the other front bracket. So they're all in place. It looks like everything's sitting in the right place, which is a good thing. So the only thing I'm going to do now is slip the rear valance over top and just make sure that this lines up, just to double check, obviously, before we commit to sealing it all up, because at this point, like, I could if I really have to, I could weld that up. Like, I'm pretty sure it's in the right place, but you know, it's a damn sight easier to move it now than later on when it's all bricking together. So yeah, I'll just slip that over top and make sure it is in the right place. So yeah, like, I can't imagine I'm going to have to move it much if I did have to, but if I have to, I will. But yeah, I think it should be okay, but we'll just slip it in there and see. Yeah, because that just slides underneath here, doesn't it? Don't have to undo anything, so we'll do that and we'll see. I'll throw you on the old tripod head and I'll grab it and we'll slide it in, and hopefully I'm not cursing and swearing. Awesome. Yeah, nice. Yeah, that looks, that's not a bad gap down there. So I've never had all this stuff bolted on, if you know what I mean. Not that that valance is bolted on, but it's roughly in the right place. Told me to stick the bolts and everything in it. Oh, that's wicked. Man, that looks good. Awesome. Right. We'll check the time. I think it's almost lunchtime, so let's know the fuel tank's right now, so we're just going to get all the other little bits and pieces sorted for it, and then obviously get all the shit fitted on it. So I'm just going to do the ends and do the bead rolls in it. Righty guys, so if you're wondering what the red flower is, it's for Anzac Day. Basically you donate to the Anzacs and they you get a poppy. So anyway, I am tipping the edges of this. I'm doing it just by hand. I thought about doing it with one of those rollers, but I'm not 100% sure what, whether one of them's going to work well or not. So at least I've got full control of this. So basically I just cut the depth I want into this bolt. It's just an old coach bolt, and I'm just going around the edge, like this. And it's slow, but it works, and it's amazing. You can pull, quite a lot of shape into something without distorting it. You just go slowly. You're just going around, really quiet, just a little bit at a time. Don't rip it right round, from flat. Just a few degrees at a time, and just keep working your way around until you get it to where you want it. So this is the maximum size that I need. Like, I've got hardly anything to turn over. It's about 5 or 6 mils. That's all it is, or about, what would that be, about 1/4 of an inch of that to turn over to cap that tank. So I'm just going to turn this up to about 90 degrees, or thereabouts, or really close to it, maybe slightly over. And then see if I can get it on and off. All right, because it's really tight, and this one here will be the same. So I'll just walk them around and do that. So that's basically how I'm doing it, just walking it around. You can see that parts of it have got quite a bend over, and it doesn't distort anything or anything like that. If you cut if you re-radius a wheel arch on something like a gasser or something like that, like something old 50s car, and you turn it into a gasser, you just get Same sort of thing, just once you've cut it, and if you want to bend an edge on it, or an edge under or something like that, just do the same thing and just tweak it around so it's actually got a little bit of an edge. You can bend that right over and hammer it thing so it's not just a sharp edge. You know, you can do that all the way around, you know, quite true tight radius. You know, unless you were happen to really be bending it like a big hunk over it, but if you're just going to bend, say, somewhere between 1/4 to maybe 3/8 of an inch over, and you want to bend it right round, there's no worries, this will do a piece piss. It's just time consuming, and you just got to do little bits at a time. That's pretty much all there is to it. Righty, so I've basically finished tipping that first one. So I'll just show you how tight, if I can show you how tight a fit that is. So that's basically spot on all the way around there. So there's not much to turn over, but there's not much of an edge on it either. But that hopefully should be enough to, once it's all hammered down and whatever and filled full of solder, it should be fuel tight basically. So I'm basically done with that one. I might go a little bit further just so it's basically vertical, but yeah, I just wanted to make sure it was still everything was fitting properly and didn't have any issues. So yeah, I'll just carry on and get it completely vertical. Some of it is and some of it isn't, if you know what I mean. Like some of this is borderline and some of it's not quite, but so yeah. But there's not much of an edge to turn over there, is there? Righty guys, so I think I'm about finished with this tank. The owner just turned up, so he gave me a hand to do the bead rolling. That's the pretty one. That one's not quite so pretty. Really need that clamped down properly so it's a bit easier to roll. But it worked perfectly for what it needs to be. Unfortunately, you can't really see them. The beads are a bit big compared with what they originally were, but it doesn't matter. It's only for a bit of strength. And I'm guessing the 4 holes that are in this are probably just to help allow a bit of extra fuel past when you're filling up. Just to allow, I'm guessing, you know, when it's filling up and there's like a heap of fuel sloshing down here, it's probably just to help air run back through, maybe, because this is the bottom. So I'm guessing that's what it's for, just to help. It's either that or it'd be up the top, just to help the air bubble back through, if you know what I mean. I'm kind of guessing that's what it's for, and to just allow the the fuel pass easier at this end. So when you're filling it up, it's probably not ever going to be a hassle, but you know what I mean. That's probably what the thought was, I'm guessing. So I've got all the ends sorted and gone over. Is it this one? I think it's this one here. Just didn't end up quite as nice as that one, but basically what I did right at the end of it is I put the dolly in here and then just hammered it over just to try and get it as nice and uniform as possible. So that's basically all ready to go. It just needs to be put together, I guess. You know, like the proper thing, drill the holes out to the right size. You know, apart from the tech screws, like I've piloted all the holes, so they've all just got to be opened up to the right size and then riveted in. But yeah, like I said, I want to talk to the guy and find out whether he wants me to rivet them in and then him solder it in, or whether he wants to tin everything and solder everything on the back side and he'll rivet them in. I don't know. It's not really it's not something I've ever done before, so I'd rather ask him first than put it together and, you know, make it awkward. Obviously I can't put the ends in, and I can't put the baffles in until everything else is in, but I'd rather ask him first whether he wants to do the complete assembly, you know, with all the rivets and whatever, or whether he wants me to rivet all those pieces on, and then he'll just go through and sweat a whole heap of solder in there. I don't know, so yeah, I'd rather ask than hammer to pull it all off. It's easy to do it after, you know, on what are we, Monday, Tuesday, when I can give him a ring and find out exactly what he wants. So that's cool. That's all ready to go basically. So that's awesome. I'm glad I got that sorted. It's just a matter of banging some rivets in if we need to, and then give it to him. And then he can put the baffles in and the knock the ends over and sweat some solder in there. So that's the thing I don't know. I don't know whether he would, you know, tin around the edge and build some solder up in there and put it over and hammer it over and sweat it all in. I don't know how he's going to do it, to be honest. Not quite really my forte, I guess, so we'll find out. Alrighty, I think that might do for the day, I think. I'm kind of over it. I could possibly have a wee think about the, you know, a wee look at that dye situation, but I almost need to hunt out a bit of steel to make it out of. I think my plan is to make another piece like that, but that's obviously like use a thick piece like that and machine it out, and then machine the step in it to punch out that piece. So yeah, I think that's probably the way to do it, and then probably kick it up at one end. So if I can get a reasonable, if I can sort of like do it that height and then maybe that height again, and then go through and just taper it from one end to the other. I don't know, I just think maybe the taper might just cleaner cut it, like it sort of cuts at one end first and then breaks it through. I think that's possibly the way to do it. So like I could probably machine it all on the lathe, not the lathe, the mill, and then just kick it up. So like on these things here. Get out of there. These here got like little steps on them, so I could probably just, I don't know whether I could sit it up on a couple of steps and then just flatten it off again, if you know what I mean. Just knock it off, and then that would be enough to cut it. That's kind of what I'm thinking, if you know what I mean. But we'll work on it. We'll work on it. So yeah, and then it's just a matter of working out how to put the hole in here, which will be fun. But I think it's probably a matter of drilling a hole in it and then starting with a bit in there with the mill, milling it through, and then just get it as close as I can to the corners, and I'll just have to file it out. So yeah, it's kind of the plan. Right, how you going, guys? Welcome back to Saturday morning at Ensley Outlaw Kustoms. This morning I am trying to use this mill drill press thing. It's a bit average. It really is. I don't know if it's the cutters or if it's just the whole thing is just a bit cheap. It's better than nothing, but it's a bit average to use. I'm trying to. The worst thing is the up and down on it. It's because it's like a drill press. I know they basically work the same way, but because it's aggressive, it's very hard to dial in fractions of a millimetre. Every time you try and move it, it's just wants to move too far, if you know what I mean. I sit there and I've set it up you know, the closest millimetre at the top, lock the little frickin' dial indicator cheap thing on there to give you a half a guide, if you know what I mean. And I try and bump it down like a 1/4 mil or 1/2 mil to do another cut, because these cutters are pretty average. And every time, you know, you frickin' it ends up trying to cut frickin' 1.5 inches or something stupid, like, or 1.5 millimetres, and it's too much for these little cutters. So basically what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make this next piece, I'll just, for this cutter, for the to punch these pieces out. What I've got in here is actually an on-off cut from when I was making the clamps for the hub for the convertible top. So it's a bit of an off cut from that because it was a nice big thick chunk. I just happened to hunt around and I found a piece that was not a lot bigger than that, but it's about, I don't know, 1.25 inches deep, thick. So it's a good thick piece, and it's only just mild steel. So basically what I'm doing is I'm trying to get it down to its flat, all 4 sides, so then I know whatever surface I'm working off, it's working flat and square, if you know what I mean, as square as it can be. But unfortunately, it had a lot of drill holes through it, so I'm just trying to get it down to its a reasonable flatness. And I'm just about through all the drill frickin' marks on this side. But then when I've got that side sorted, and I know that side sorted, it's got the cut marks on the other side. I don't know how hot this is. That's not too bad. So when I've got this side cleaned up, which I'm just about there, I'll flip it over, and at least then I can actually, when I get this side down, I can use this as my clean side to make basically another piece like this, and then a smaller piece within that again. I'm not exactly sure what I'm doing but basically that's the plan, is to get it down to a reasonable, well, basically what I'm trying to do is get it down to that width, or close to that width, and then I will start cleaning it up and actually cutting the piece. But God, it's taken me forever just to get just down to here, if you know what I mean, because it was quite a hunk off it, and I cut the worst of it off, but it's just so inconsistent. Like you can see where I've been trying to cut there. That was my next little cut, and it's too much for it. It's got a lot of, I don't know, whatever it is. It's a little 1/2 inch cutter or whatever. So yeah, actually I might, now that I know that's fairly flat, even though it's not cleaned up that good, I might actually flip it over and start on the other side, and get this all trued up, and at least then I'm starting with a half decent thing, and it's not rocking around on me. So I may do that. I might just clean all these burrs off. But yeah, it's kind of where I'm at the moment. So I'll get myself sorted out and we'll get going again, and try and get at least part way through this morning. I want to go to this car show because it looks like the weather might just hold long enough to get a half decent car show in, which would be nice. It's sunny outside and it's not pissing down with rain at the moment. Righty guys, God, freaking stop flickering. Anyway, so I think I've finally got myself now to the point where I can actually use this piece of steel to cut this. We're only freaking like, I don't know, 2 hours and 20 minutes in. So basically, where it was all cut clear and all the drills, I've got that down to a reasonable level, and it's square, like it's meant to be fucking square. Anyway, I'll check it again in a minute, but I'll check, make sure it is all square. Anyway, I'll cut all the crap off each side of it so I can sit it in the middle, well, in the jaw that way, and start machining this, but probably I don't know, twice that depth, I guess. So I'll do a surface cut, get this clean on top, you know, get rid of the hammer marks and whatever else off it, and then we'll start cutting down around the edge at that size down. I don't know, you double that, I guess, whatever that is. What is it? That's about 8 mil. So what's that? Is that 5/16? Yes, I think it might be 3/8 or 5/16. It's thereabouts anyway. 5/16 small. Somewhere between 3/8 and 5/16 roughly. Just from our friends that use inches a lot. So I want to cut it about double that depth, I guess, in. So I want to cut it about 16 mil clean down around at that size. So we'll cut it that way, and obviously that way. So whatever that exact width is and length, well, as close as possible. It doesn't have to be dead that size, as long as it's really close, because it's only going in there to hold and then punch, if you know what I mean. So the piece will be sitting. I gave you one of the bits. So basically I'll push this in with the first die, try and leave it in there if I can, which it should be able to. Push it in there, leave it in there, grab that one, sit it in, and basically push it in there and hopefully cut the window. So yeah, I'll cut it about double that depth, and then just about that depth there, so about half it again. I'll come back up and then I'll cut slightly smaller. I won't be doing it all today, but I'll at least get started. So at the moment this piece is, well, how wide's that? Yeah, inches, get off inches. So I know what I'm talking about. So at the moment that's about, just sneak over 3/4 of an inch wide, or 19 mil thereabouts. It's a bit over 19, about 19 and a half. Yeah, 19 and a half. It's a little bit fatter in the middle. So it's about that. And then the window in the middle on this is basically 12 mil. It's not quite half an inch, the window in the centre. So basically we'll cut this about 3/4 all the way around, so stick up, and then we'll jump into 12 mil and we'll go around. It'd be nice if this had a, you know, digital readout and you could read exactly what you were doing, because these things here are absolutely freaking, they give you a rough guide, but it's pretty freaking hopeless. What is it? Each round is about 3.5. I don't know, thereabouts. That's pretty freaking, it's pretty garbage, to be honest. It's better than nothing, the little guides in here, but it's like nothing's really got any sort of precision on it at all. We'll get it too close, and then we'll just take a little bit off at a time. At least once I get it trimmed up, I can do a couple of light cuts down in, and then I've got a guide to go by, but it's pretty freaking average, this thing. Righty, so you wouldn't think I've got very far at all, but I've started cutting, so basically I've cut that one side down to the full depth that I want it punched into, and then I'll do the other side, and then we'll trim it off there, and then we'll work out how much more we need to take off for the actual piece that cuts through. So that's as far as I've got this morning when I'm about to leave. I'm just about to turn everything off and bugger off again. So yeah, I actually ended up, I tipped it on its side because it would cut better. Those like drilled edges are just a pain in the ass. But now I'm past that sort of piece, I'm fine. But yeah, so I'll tip it over and we'll do the same on that side, and then once I'll just get it down to the rough depth. I ain't got to take that much off there anyway, like about 4 mil or something like that, if that. Bring that down, and then obviously do the ends, and then we can cut the actual punch piece. And then right at the end, I will kick it up with something like this. Hopefully I can do it. Something like that underneath there. Might have to square an end off. Oh, that end will do. Hopefully I can kick it up a little bit and cut that punch at a slight angle and dress it off from one end to the other. So that'll be a wee bit of mucking around too, but I think that's going to be the best way. It'll cut from one end back to the other instead of trying to punch it all through at once. I think it can cut and go, and then slowly cut it out and just snip it off the other end. I think that'll be the best result, because that's way a normal cutter would work. So anyway, I'm going to get out of here and go have a look at this car show, and hopefully we'll get the holds and I can get it some decent footage for you guys.